Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is dedicated to loving memory Mrs. Lily Sefer Leah Shalom L'Nishmat Leah Bat Chana. Her philanthropy has reached so many and continues to reach so many throughout the entire world. For the complete and speedy refuah shlema for Rabbi Chana Farach Chana Bat Simba Fega and Rabbi Ilya Abadi Eliyahu Shimon Ben Mazav Fortune, as well, and dedicated to loving memory L'Nishmat Shlomo Ben Sulika Alav Shalom Yitzhak Ben Aaron, sponsored by Deborah and Simon Turjaman, and sponsored by Renee and Ezra Daba in celebration of the birth of their great-grandson Aryeh Yehuda. Congratulations, Mazal Tov, Tiskushim Rabot, Nimot V'Tovot Rabotai. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. One of the important things I always say on Isru Hag, our rabbis communicate that this day also has an element of holiness of the holiday, and the holiness of the holiday is meant to be something that does not stay in the boundaries of the day itself, but rather it's something that a person takes with them into the period after having gone through, to take with us at Birkat Moadecha, like we spoke about last night in the Bet Knesset, the blessings of the Moed, the blessings of the holiday. And every person has to take with them and identify what the blessings of the holiday was. What did they learn about hard work and bitter times? What did they learn about freedom, herut? What did they learn about what it means to be royal? What did they learn about how to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What did they learn about how to live a life of emunah, of faith, of leil shimurim? So there's many different things, mitzvot, that we stockpiled over the last 8 days. And now is the time to take stock and make sure that you're taking everything with you. Many thousands and thousands of people today and last night will be flying home from Pesach programs. So before you leave, what do? You check the room, you go under the bed, you check every drawer, you go back to the Bet Knesset to check if you forgot your talet or your tefillin. You want to check if there's Haggadah back in the Seder room. You run around the hotel like a Majnun case, trying to make sure that you didn't leave anything behind. You're taking everything that you brought with you to the holiday. We should be no different when we're thinking about the spiritual things that the holiday offers us, that we shouldn't leave any of them behind and take them with us into the new year. Our parasha this week is Shmini, and I want to focus just for 1 second on one small idea. The pasuk tells us about a terrible tragedy that happens to the sons of Aaron. Vayihi bayom hashemini. It was on the 8th day, and it was a very tragic day. It was a very beautiful day and a very tragic day. It was the day of the inauguration of the Mishkan. And on that day, the sons of Aharon, Nadav and Avihu, they die. And the Torah tells us that they died because they brought a foreign fire, a fire that they were not commanded to bring. Now there's many different interpretations of what they did, exactly what they did, and exactly what this foreign fire was. But what's interesting is that the immediate follow-up to the parasha is where God tells Moshe and Aharon, he tells them, Yain v'shechar al tesht, wine and intoxicating beverages you shall not drink. Ata ubanecha itach, you and your children with you. Bevoachem el oel moed, when you come to the oel moed. The Gemara in Megillah discusses when is the responsibility of a kohen not to drink. Is a kohen ever allowed to drink? Maybe he's going to go get called to the temple. How does he know when he's going to get called? So there's the kohanim that are on duty. There's the kohanim that are one step removed from on duty. They're the kohanim of the mishmar. So they also can't be, because in case they get called, they also can't be intoxicated. But other than that, there's no halacha not to drink. Correct? There's no obligation on any person not to drink ever. This doesn't exist, that idea. Just beboachem el oil moed. When you come to the oil moed, you can't be drunk. Not only that, we learn an interesting halacha from the kohanim that are not allowed to do the avodah. We learn the idea that a dayan is also, like the pasuk says, ulehorot, and also to instruct that a dayan or a posek that's giving a psak halacha, was ruling on a case, is not allowed to be drunk when he gives his ruling, because obviously he might give the wrong ruling. Now, to me, I see a global, a universal lesson that comes out of this. The Torah is telling you that this is something which is ordinarily mutar. You're allowed to normally have this. The problem is if you're going to go to the oil moed, it's inappropriate. It's not the right thing for you to come when you're drunk, when you're intoxicated, when you're happy and high on wine. Why? Because here's a place where you need to be focused. You need to have all your wits about you. So therefore, that practice, that drinking, is not an appropriate thing to do in this place. And I was thinking to myself, there are many things that in the Torah the Torah allows those things. It just that when it comes to a certain place or a certain space or a certain time, those things no longer are appropriate. And therefore, we have to learn from here also to understand that even if something is mutar, there's a time and a place for everything. I'll just give you an example for what's a couple of the examples that are running through my mind. There's a famous example they say about a fellow who comes home Friday night and he brings a very special guest home, a big rabbi. Anyway, he walks in. He's expecting to be able to start right away with his chashuv guest. He comes in and he sees that not everything is prepared. The chalot are on the table and they're not covered. So he starts screaming at his wife. What kind of business is this? Or is this your first Shabbat? You don't know that the chalot have to be covered? We have a big rabbi here. He has to eat. He's got a big thing, places to go. He's got the Torah to learn. How could you leave the chalot uncovered like that? On and on and on. Anyway, they finish kiddush. Everyone goes to wash. The rabbi pulls the guy on the side. He says, Rohi, do you know why the halot are covered? Why do we cover the halot? The guy says, Rabbi, you're insulting me. What you think because my table's not ready? I don't know. Of course I know. Every kid knows. The reason why the halot are covered is because we're going to make the bracha of Borei Pri HaGefen. Normally the bracha of Mizonot HaMotzi should come first. Since we're skipping its bracha, we're embarrassing the bread. So therefore, the bread is covered when we make the bracha that normally would go after it. So the rabbi says to this man, he says, that means you're telling me that the whole point of covering the bread is not to embarrass bread. How much more so should you be careful not to embarrass your wife that can actually feel embarrassment? Now, my friends, I want to ask you a question. Should a person cover the bread, yes or no? Of course they should. So the guy is getting upset about something that's supposed to be. Yes, it's true. The practice that he's getting upset about, that's a correct practice. But to do it in this way, or to bring it out in that way, is missing the point that the covering the challah is supposed to communicate to you. There's many, many things that are okay. But how, and how much, and when, that's the challenge of a Jew. There's no halakha in the Torah that tells you exactly how much you're supposed to drink. But what we do learn is that there's a time and place that if you drink, you're hayav mitah. You come shtuya yain to Bet HaMikdash, hayav mitah. A person is not careful with the wine that they drink. They're not careful not to have a designated driver. Hayav mitah. It's an act, it can be an act, the drinking can be an act of murder. The fact that it's mutar to drink doesn't tell you that in the wrong circumstances, it's still mutar. A person has an obligation to stand up for what's right. Does it mean that you yell at your wife in public about the fact? Of course not. Have a conversation about it. That's what you need to do. Do it in the right way. So often, you have people doing the right thing, but in the wrong way. And that makes the right thing also incorrect, also wrong. The halakha is that when a person is rebuking someone, they should never rebuke them publicly. Unfortunately, I got to see a couple times in the last few weeks, people rebuking people publicly in the Beit Knesset, where there's no need to do that. No need. No mitzvah. In fact, I would wager the person who's correcting the fellow, and he's correct for correcting him. Guy's not wearing his tefillin correctly. So should you tell him to fix them? Absolutely. But imagine telling the guy across the whole shul, hey! You think you did a mitzvah, you did a sin. Your intentions are right. What you did was mutar, but the way that you did it actually makes that thing into a sin. The reason why I'm thinking about this specifically now is not only because of Parashat Shmini, but also something that I'm reminded of as one of the messages I think we need to take with us on Isru Hag from Hag HaPesach. You know, we know that the Egyptians were punished for enslaving the Jews. And many of the Rishonim ask, why are the Egyptians punished? They were following God's will. What do I mean? God told Avraham Avinu, right? Yadoa teda, ki ger yeh zar'acha be'eretz lo lahem, ve'avadum, ve'inu otam, 400 shana. So what did the Egyptians do? They enslaved them, ve'inu otam, and they tortured them 400 years. Could you imagine this Mitzri? Every morning he wakes up, Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu v'tzvotav v'tzivanu la'anot et ha'Yehudi. Amen. Mitzvah. Why did they get punished? They did what God said. So one of the famous answers is that the pasuk did not say Yadoa teda ki ger yeh zar'acha be'eretz lo lahem shenikra Mitzrayim. It doesn't say where they would be enslaved. It doesn't say who was going to be the one that was going to embitter their lives, who was going to torture them. You volunteered for that. You're the one that wanted to do that. That's your own bad midot. Yeah? You get it? How many times do you have a guy doing this? This is what Hashem wants. Hashem wants me to shamble the guy, embarrass him. Hashem wants me to speak Lashon Hara about him. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu v'tzivanu lagid Lashon Hara. Right? Best of intentions. But what we see from this is, who said that the person that's going to do it is supposed to be you? And maybe you get punished for choosing to be the one to do it. You know why? Because you know where it really comes from. It comes from your bad midot. You're a guy that likes to put people down. So you know how you're channeling, you're putting people down midah. You got shambled the other week privately by the rabbi for talking negatively about someone. So what do you do now? Now you correct people in halakha. You don't have the intention of making their practice the halakha better. Your intention, your motivation is not to help them do the mitzvah. Your motivation is to put the guy down. If the guy was doing all the halachot correctly, you would shamble something else about him, because that's the kind of guy you are. And that's one of the lessons that we learn from Mitzrayim. There's a famous question that was asked by the Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai asked, so we say in Chad Gadya, there was a sheep, a goat, right? And what happened to the goat, right? The shunra, the cat came along and it ate the goat, right? So what happened to the cat? What's the cat doing? The dog came and he bit the cat for eating the goat. Wrong thing. She ate the goat. So the stick came and the stick hit the dog, and then the fire came and the fire hit the stick, and then the water, right, put out the fire, and then the cow drank the water, and then the shochet slaughtered the cow, and then the malach hamavet slaughtered the shochet, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu slaughtered the malach hamavet. So ask the Ben Ish Chai, I don't understand. If the cat was wrong for eating the goat, which it was, so the dog did the right thing, which means that the stick did the wrong thing, because he hit someone haf mi pesha. The dog did the right thing. And if the dog did the right thing, so the stick, you following? One more time, very clear. The cat did the wrong thing. That means that the dog did the right thing. The stick did the wrong thing. The fire, right thing. The water, wrong thing. The cow, right thing. Shochet, wrong thing. Malach hamavet, right thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the wrong thing. Answers the Ben Ish Chai, no. The whole reason why you have Hashem being wrong at the end here is because the cat did the wrong thing, so the dog did the right thing. Who died and appointed the dog Lisar v'shofet alenu? Why is the dog getting involved in punishing the cat? It's not your problem. It's not your job. You decided to get involved, to put yourself in a place where you don't belong, to administer punishment. So therefore the dog did something wrong. So one could then go all the way, the other way. But you don't even need to do that, because then you're going to have the same question on all of the other things. Only let God punish. How many times do people take it upon themselves to punish somebody? And by the way, what are we learning from here, from the Ben Ish Chai? What are we learning from the Misraim? Even if the person is supposed to be punished, even if the person deserves to be punished, you keep out of it, let God take care of it. You don't have to blow the whistle, you don't have to get the guy in trouble. Hashem will take care of it. And the crazy thing is, even when the guy deserves it, if you get involved, what happens? Now you pay the fine. You get hit for it. How many times are people upset at someone, so they decide they're going to bring down the law on this guy? What does the Gemara say? A person prays to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to visit din on someone else. Before they even visit din on the other guy, what do? They bring the din on you. Because in Shamayim they say, oh what, you calling Midat HaDin on this guy? You calling the police on this guy? Could you imagine? Imagine you're a bank thief. You stole $100 million from Silicon Valley Bank before it went bust. Okay? Imagine now you see some guy double parked in front of your house. Which moron is going to call the cops if he's a bank robber and snitch on somebody else? Ad lo yada, until the cops come to your house to take the report, they see a mountain of cash, they get you in trouble. It's the same thing when a person prays to God to punish somebody else, or takes matters in their own hands. In Shamayim they say, oh, you're playing the Deen card? Let's check your books. Where are you at? Who's ready to invite that? Who's ready to invite that into there? No one wants to get audited. No one calls the IRS and says, Faddal. Right? It's not a good move. So my friends, one of the things I think that we're learning over here is that when the Torah tells you about things that you can't do, those things you can't do in any circumstance. But even the things that you can do, knowing when to be able to do them is crucial. The halakha talks about eating. Are we allowed to eat? Of course we're allowed to eat. This week's parasha, we're going to talk about kosher. You have an object, fully kosher. I'm allowed to eat it, right? Well, it depends. Is it milk? What else are you eating right now? When did you last eat meat? This is kosher, it's parv. You know, did you pray yet? You're not allowed to eat it. You have the mitzvah of candle lighting. It's already after Shki'ah. You have the mitzvah of lighting Chanukiah. You're not allowed to eat until you fulfill the mitzvah. B'dikat chametz, you're not allowed to eat. There's many things that we're allowed to do, but the circumstance disallows that thing. My friends, a person is allowed to lose his temper every once in a while. Not on purpose. On purpose, you're never allowed. But sometimes a person loses, they get upset. Sometimes a person gets angry. And you know what? We chalk it up to the fact that a guy is human. Really, the Sfrim Musar tell us that when a person has no choice, they're not judged for that moment. I'll give you an example. Rav Dessler writes in his famous pamphlet in Kuntresa Bechira. He writes this idea that a person has a certain amount of free will that they're going to be judged on. Let's say, as an example, someone comes and punches you in the face. If I punch you right back, you hit me, I hit you. I try to get you off of me. Is that nikama? You hit me, I hit you. No. When is nikama? Nikama is, you hit me, I go have a bagel. I come back, I hit you back. In the heat of the moment, right then, when the person is just reacting, that's not a conscious nikama-based reaction. Is that clear? Someone gets you upset. They're screaming at you, yelling at you. What would be ideal? Ideal, you would be like Hillel and everything would bounce off of you. That would be ideal. But in the moment, someone screams, yells. The question is that right now it's out of my wheelhouse. I don't have the self-control to not get angry. So Hashem's not going to judge you for that. But 1 minute later, 5 minutes later, I'm angry because I'm keeping myself angry. I'm angry because I'm not letting anyone placate me. I'm angry because I want to throw the guy under a bus. I keep finding more reasons and going to other things that he did and remembering what he did 5 years ago. You understand? In that case, there a person is going to be held, taken to task for their anger because they could have controlled it at that point and they didn't. My friends, is there a time when a person can't lose their temper? I think that there is. I think that there's children that sometimes a person has that are very, very sensitive. And even though normally we would say, all right, Hazit, the guy, it's very hard. You can't lose your temper with them. You have a person, Bar Minan, the guy's a Avel. Could you imagine someone losing their temper with the guy? Screaming at him as a Avel? There's going to be hell to pay for that. Even though some things normally we would say, you're honest, we can't expect anything from you. Sometimes the situation is such that you have to act lifnim mishurat adin. And my friends, I'll end with this. The Gemara tells us, I think Mashiach is here. The Gemara tells us, I love how nobody got up. Everyone's like, all right, we'll finish the class and we'll go. The Gemara tells us, why was Yerushalayim destroyed? Al Shadanu Din Torah. Because they ruled the law according to the laws of the Torah. So ask the Gemara, what then should it be? What, they should have the rules of the robbers? That's how we should have conducted ourselves? And the Gemara answers that the reason why Yerushalayim was destroyed was because they did not behave lifni mishurat adin, above the letter of the law. All the commentators ask, what does that mean? Above the letter of the law means you're not obligated to act that way. It means you can't be punished for not acting that way. How could you tell me that the reason why we were punished with the destruction of Yerushalayim was because we did not fulfill lifnei mishurat above the letter? How could you say that? And the answer is because there are times when what's expected of you is above the letter of the law. Not to drink, to be clear-headed. Not to get angry, even though there's a lot of reasons to be. Not to be upset, even though you were wronged. But to recognize the person is hurting, that's not what they meant, that's not where they're coming from. Is this clear? In that scenario, a person could be expected to do lifnei mishurat adin. Hashem should bless us to always be able to have a finger on the pulse. To always be, like they say, not tone deaf. And to recognize the situation at hand. And to be able to make appropriate decisions based on what's necessary of us. We should always be zocheh to be a kiddush Hashem and to act in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects of us. Baruch Adonai Le'olam.